Throwaway. BC, my family stalks my main account, and I can't deal with more problems right now. So I, male, 22, am apparently the worst brother in the world according to my family, and I honestly don't know what to think anymore. I feel like I'm constantly getting blamed for everything my brother does wrong, and I'm so tired of being everyone's backup plan. Last night, my brother called me from the police station demanding I come pick him up, and I said no. Am I the idiot for leaving my brother stranded at the police station? Okay, so here's what happened. I got home yesterday at like 1 a.m. after pulling a 16-hour shift between delivery and warehouse work. I work delivery during the day and warehouse at night because rent is fucking expensive. I could barely keep my eyes open walking up to my apartment. My phone starts ringing at 1:30, and it's my brother Jake, male, 24. He's calling from the police station because he got arrested for being drunk and causing a disturbance outside some bar downtown. This is at least his third arrest in the past 3 years. By the way, there was the DUI thing 3 years ago, then some fight at a house party, and now this. He immediately starts yelling at me about how I need to come get him right now because it's his one phone call and the cops took his wallet so he can't get a cab. I'm like, dude, I literally just worked 16 hours and I'm too tired to drive safely. Maybe call mom and dad. And he freaks out saying they'll lose their minds if they find out about another arrest and starts screaming about family loyalty and how I never help him with anything. I hung up on him. I know that sounds harsh, but I was so exhausted I couldn't think straight, and he was just yelling at me like it was my fault he got arrested. Here's where it gets worse. My mom, let's call her Linda, calls me like 7 times the next morning starting at 8 a.m. First call, she's asking why I didn't pick up my brother. Apparently Jake had called them after I hung up on him, or maybe the police let him make another call later. I try explaining that I was exhausted and it wasn't safe for me to drive, but she cuts me off, saying family comes first, and how could I abandon him like that? Then she calls back around noon because apparently my brother missed his morning shift at his job. He works at some retail place. She's going on about how if I had just picked him up, he wouldn't have missed work and might not get fired. I'm like, Mom, he got arrested for being drunk and disorderly. Maybe that's the actual problem here. But wait, it gets even better. Third call comes at 3 p.m. and surprise, surprise, he got fired. Now my mom is listing all the ways this screws over my brother and how I could have prevented all of this if I had just been a good brother and picked him up. She says stuff like, you know how hard it is for him to keep a job, and he was finally getting his life together, which, no, he wasn't, but okay. The conversation ended with her saying, I don't know why you hate your brother so much. Like, what? I don't hate him. I was just too tired to drive safely. Here's what really gets me though. When I was 19, I wouldn't give my brother money for his third DUI lawyer because I literally didn't have it. I was working at Target making like $9 an hour. My parents basically disowned me for 2 months. They said I was being selfish and not supporting family. But like, he got 3 DUIs. At what point is that on him? And it's not like they help me when I need it. Last year, when I was behind on rent and begged to move back home temporarily, they told me I was old enough to figure it out and that I had made my choice to be independent. But somehow, I'm supposed to drop everything whenever my brother needs something. I work 60+ hours a week between the warehouse and delivery jobs just to afford this crappy studio apartment. My brother bounces between entry-level jobs and gets fired for not showing up half the time, but I'm the one who gets blamed when his life falls apart. The thing is, I do feel guilty. Like there's this voice in my head saying I should have just sucked it up and gotten him. Maybe I could have had coffee or something to stay awake. But I was literally falling asleep standing up, and I live like 45 minutes from the police station. What if I had crashed? I guess what I'm asking is, am I the asshole here? Should I have picked him up even though I was exhausted? Is it really my responsibility to drop everything whenever he screws up? Because honestly, I'm starting to feel like I'll never be able to do enough for my family, and I don't know why I always feel like I owe them something. My parents have always made me be the responsible one and help my brother out, but like, when do I get help? When do my problems matter? I've been busting my ass for years trying to make it on my own, and they act like that doesn't count for anything. I don't know. Maybe I am being too harsh. Maybe family really should come first, no matter what. But but I'm so tired of being everyone's backup plan while getting no support myself. Am I the idiot for leaving my brother stranded at the police station? Edit 1. To everyone asking why my brother couldn't call our parents, apparently he was too embarrassed about another arrest, but not too embarrassed to yell at me about it. Make it make sense. Edit 2. Yes, I know some of you are going to say I should have called a cab for him or something. Honestly, I didn't even think of that at the time because I was so tired and he was screaming at me. Also, he's 24. He can figure out how to get home from jail. Edit 3. For those asking about the previous arrests, the DUI was 3 years ago. That's when I wouldn't give him lawyer money. Then there was some fight at a party last year, and now this. I'm probably forgetting some smaller stuff too. Edit 4. Someone asked if there's more to the story about why my parents treat us differently. I honestly don't know. They've always acted like I owe my brother something, but I can't remember what. They act like I owe him something, but nobody ever explains what for. Now for the first update. You were right about my family not giving a shit about me while doing everything for my brother. I found out he's been living rent-free at our parents' house for 3 months while I'm working way too hard just to afford this shitty studio. I'm so fucking done with this family, I can't even think straight right now. So I've been stressing about money again. Because my landlord is raising rent from $1,200 to $1,400 next month, and I literally cannot afford that. Like I'm already working 60 plus hours between delivery and warehouse just to get by. I was looking at moving to this even smaller place that's basically a closet with a hot plate, and I'm going through my stuff to see what I can get rid of. I find this random box under my bed, and it's full of my brother's crap from when he crashed at my place like 6 months ago. I forgot I even had it, to be honest. I've been so busy dealing with the aftermath of that whole police station situation from last week that I haven't had time to think about anything else. There's his old yearbook, some gaming headset, random clothes, whatever. Normally I just toss it, but the headset probably cost like $200, and I felt bad throwing away his yearbook. I know, I'm an idiot for caring. So I decide to swing by my parents' house yesterday after my delivery shift to drop it off. It's like 2 p.m. and I see Jake's car in the driveway, which is weird because he supposedly lives across town now. I figured maybe he was just visiting or something. I knock on the door and my brother answers, in fucking pajamas, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. He looked really surprised and nervous when he sees me and immediately tries to block the doorway so I can't see inside. I asked him why he was answering mom and dad's door in his pajamas, and he starts stammering about how he was just staying over and looking for jobs from there today or some bullshit. I pushed past him, and there's his shit everywhere, like his clothes hanging in the laundry room, his toothbrush in the bathroom, his laptop set up on the kitchen table. I walk upstairs and his stuff is all over my old bedroom, like he's completely moved in. I turned around and asked Jake what the fuck was going on, and he finally admits he's been staying there since his lease ended. I ask when that was, and he mumbles that it was like 3 months ago. 3 months. And now that I think about it, his whole excuse about being too embarrassed to call mom and dad from jail makes even less sense. He's been living in their house for months. What's more embarrassing than that? It's making me rethink everything about that whole police station stuff too. Mom was so upset about Jake losing his job, going on about how he was finally getting his life together, but he was already living here rent-free. She made it sound like that job was his lifeline when they were already completely supporting him. I'm trying to process this, and I ask where he was living before this, and apparently he was couch surfing with friends for months before that. So basically he's been homeless for like 6 months total, but somehow that never came up in any family conversations. My mom comes home while we're talking and immediately goes into defense mode. She starts explaining how Jake needed somewhere to get back on his feet, and it's just temporary until he finds his own place, and how they couldn't let him live on the streets. I'm like, Mom, do you not remember last spring when I was behind on rent and begged you to let me move back temporarily? You told me I was old enough to figure it out and that I had made my choice to be independent. But somehow when Jake needs help, it's different. She gets all huffy and says it's not the same situation because Jake never really got his shit together like I did, and that each of us has different needs. She says, I'm capable of handling my problems while Jake needs more support. I fucking lost it. I pointed out that I'm about to move into a place the size of a closet while Jake gets to live rent-free in our childhood bedroom. I work 60+ hours a week and can barely afford ramen while he sleeps until 2 p.m. in the house I grew up in. My mom starts going on about family loyalty and how I should be grateful that Jake is getting his life together instead of being jealous. She actually used the word jealous, like I'm jealous of my 24-year-old brother living with mommy and daddy. The conversation ended with her saying, maybe if I was more supportive of my brother instead of holding grudges, then our family wouldn't have these problems. Because apparently, me being upset about double standards means I'm holding grudges. My dad came in from the garage halfway through this shit show, took one look at us arguing, and went right back to his workshop. Typical. I left the box of Jake's stuff on the kitchen counter and told them I was done. Just fucking done. Here's what really gets me though. When I was struggling last year, I got lectures about being an adult and figuring things out on my own. But Jake gets arrested multiple times, can't keep a job, and somehow that makes him more deserving of help, not less. I keep thinking about how they acted like letting me move back temporarily would be enabling me or something. But letting Jake live there rent-free for months while he sleeps until afternoon is what exactly? Helping him get his life together, and the fact that nobody even told me. Like I've been stressing about money this whole time, working myself to death, and my family just didn't think it was worth mentioning that my brother moved back home. What if I had known there was an option to get help instead of struggling alone? I feel like such an idiot for ever thinking my parents gave a shit about me the same way they care about Jake. The worst part is I can already imagine the follow-up conversation where they'll say I'm being overdramatic and that this isn't about favoritism. It's about Jake needing more help right now. But it's always about Jake needing more help. When is it my turn to need help? When do my problems matter? I'm sitting in my tiny apartment that I can't afford anymore, looking at listings for places that are literally just rooms with shared bathrooms, while my brother gets free housing in our childhood bedroom. And somehow I'm the asshole for being upset about it. I don't even know what I'm asking here. I guess, am I crazy for feeling like this is completely fucked up? Because right now I feel like I'm losing my mind. To anyone who's going to suggest I try talking to my parents again, I've tried. They have an excuse for everything. Jake needs more help, I'm more capable, it's temporary, I chose independence, blah blah blah. There's always a reason why his problems matter more than mine. I don't know what to do anymore. I can't afford my rent, I'm working constantly, and my family acts like I should be grateful that my brother gets handed everything I had to fight for. Sorry this is so long and rambly. I'm just really fucking tired of feeling like I don't matter to my own family. Edit. For everyone asking why I didn't know he moved back. Honestly, my family barely talks to me unless they need something. We maybe have one actual conversation every few weeks, and it's usually my mom complaining about work or whatever. Jake's housing situation just never came up, I guess. Edit 2. Yes, I realize I should have probably figured it out sooner, but I've been working so much I barely have time to think. Plus, the few times I did ask how Jake was doing, the answer was always, oh, he's job hunting, or he's figuring things out. Nobody mentioned he was doing it from their house. Now for the second update. Well, you all called it about my family not giving a shit about me, but I never could have imagined it would take my dad almost dying for me to find out the real reason why. I can't even think straight right now, so this is going to be all over the place. But I need to get this out somewhere, because I feel like I'm losing my fucking mind. So Wednesday morning, I'm at my delivery job, and my mom calls me like 8 times in a row. I'm thinking, oh, great, what did Jake do now? But when I finally answer, she's crying and barely making sense. My dad collapsed at his construction site and got rushed to the hospital. Heart attack or something. I couldn't really understand what she was saying through the crying. I immediately dropped everything, literally left packages in my truck and told my supervisor it was a family emergency, and drove straight to the hospital. I was terrified, honestly. Like, my dad and I don't have the best relationship, but he's still my dad, you know? I kept thinking about how I've been so angry at my family lately, and what if he dies? And the last real conversation we had was me storming out over Jake, living at home, rent-free. When I got there, my mom and Jake were already in the waiting room. My mom looked like she'd aged 10 years, and Jake was scared, but also kind of out of it. Like he didn't know how to process what was happening. We all just sat there, not really talking much, while we waited for news. The doctor finally came out around 3 p.m. and explained that my dad had what they called a major cardiac event. I think that's what he said. Everything was kind of a blur. Basically, there was some serious blockage, and he needed surgery right away, or it could happen again and be worse. The doctor seemed confident about the surgery, but said my dad would need like 6 to 8 weeks of recovery and probably couldn't go back to construction work for months. That's when the money stuff started. My dad's insurance, through his construction company, covers the basic surgery, but apparently they want to use this specialist surgeon who's like the best in the state or whatever, and insurance won't cover that part. Plus, there's going to be all these other costs for recovery and medications, and I don't even know what else. My mom starts talking about how they need to come up with like $30,000 for everything. $30,000. I can barely afford my own rent, and she's talking about amounts that might as well be $1 million to me. At first, I'm just focused on my dad being okay, you know? Like, money is money, but this is his life. But then yesterday, Thursday, my mom calls me and starts talking about how we need to figure out how everyone can contribute to help with the medical bills. She started suggesting I could get a loan or pick up extra shifts. I told her I already work 60+ hours a week and I'm about to get kicked out of my apartment because I can't afford the rent increase. Where exactly am I supposed to get $30,000? That's when she mentioned that Jake's looking into getting a second job to help out and that I've always been good with money. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Jake is looking into getting a second job. The guy who's been unemployed for 2 weeks and living rent-free at home for 3 months. Meanwhile, I've been killing myself working 2 jobs just to survive, and somehow, I'm the one who should figure out how to get a loan. I told my mom I'd help however I could, but I literally don't have thousands of dollars just lying around. And that's when the conversation went completely sideways. She starts getting this tone like I'm being difficult and says, "I thought you'd want to help your father," which, like, of course I want to help my dad. But wanting to help and being able to afford to help are 2 completely different things. Then, she told me that maybe if I hadn't moved out so young, I'd be in a better financial position to help my family when they need it. I fucking snapped. I reminded her that I didn't choose to move out. They told me I was old enough to figure things out when I was struggling and needed help. I brought up how when I was 19 and couldn't afford to help with Jake's DUI lawyer fees, they basically disowned me for 2 months. I brought up begging to move back home temporarily last year and getting told I'd made my choice to be independent. But now, when it's dad's medical bills, suddenly I'm supposed to find money I don't have. I asked her. She got all defensive and said this is completely different because it's a medical emergency, and how could I be so vindictive during a family crisis? Vindictive, like me not having $30,000, is somehow me being vindictive. The fight went on for like an hour. I kept trying to explain that I literally cannot afford to help in any meaningful way, and she kept acting like I was choosing not to help. At one point, she said, "Your brother has never hesitated to sacrifice for this family." And I was like, what sacrifices? Living rent-free and getting bailed out constantly. I hung up on her. I know that probably makes me sound like an asshole, but I was so frustrated I couldn't think straight. My dad is in the hospital, and instead of the family coming together, we're fighting about money I don't have. But it gets worse. Apparently, after our fight, my mom started calling extended family asking for money. She called my Aunt Karen and told her about how I refused to help and was being selfish during a family emergency. My aunt was apparently shocked to hear about family problems because she thought we all got along great. So she starts calling other relatives trying to figure out what's going on. And word gets back to my cousin Michelle. Michelle calls me Friday night, and she sounds really upset. She told me she heard about my dad and the medical bills, but also about me and my mom fighting. She said she can't watch this family tear itself apart over money when I don't even know the whole story. I'm like, what story? What don't I know? She gets quiet for a minute and then tells me she can't believe they never told me. She says she's been watching me get treated like shit for years because I don't remember what Jake did for me. Apparently, when I was 16, I got caught shoplifting at this department store. I was trying to impress some girl from school. I don't even remember her name now. And I stole makeup or something for her. Michelle was there because we'd all gone to the mall together. Me, Jake, and her. Security caught me red-handed, and I completely panicked. Like full-on panic attack, couldn't breathe, thought my life was over kind of panic. Michelle says I was so freaked out I could barely speak. That's when Jake stepped in and told security the makeup was his. He said I was just holding it for him while he looked at something else, even though he was 18 and I was only 16. Because Jake was 18, he got arrested. He got an adult criminal record. Meanwhile, I got to walk away clean because Jake convinced them I was just an innocent bystander. I don't remember any of the shoplifting incident itself. Like, I remember being at the mall with them that day. I remember Michelle being there. But everything about the actual shoplifting and Jake taking the blame is just completely gone. Michelle says I was so traumatized and grateful that I blocked it out, which apparently happens sometimes when people have panic attacks like that. But here's the thing. Jake's criminal record screwed up his job prospects for years. A lot of places wouldn't hire him because of the theft charge. And apparently, my parents have been overcompensating ever since, making sure Jake gets extra help and support because he sacrificed his future to protect his little brother. Meanwhile, they've been expecting me to be grateful and supportive of Jake for something I don't even remember happening. Michelle says she's watched this play out for years, and it's been killing her. She says every time my parents lecture me about family loyalty or not appreciating Jake's sacrifices, she wants to scream, because how can I appreciate something I don't remember? But she also says my parents made her promise never to bring it up because they were worried it would mess with my mental health to remember the trauma. So she's just watched me get treated like the selfish brother who doesn't appreciate his family for almost 7 years. I confronted my parents about this Saturday. They confirmed everything Michelle said. My dad, who's doing better by the way, the surgery went well, tried to explain that they never told me because they didn't want me to feel guilty about Jake's sacrifices. My mom said they've been trying to balance things out by making sure Jake gets the support he needs while teaching me to be independent. Balance things out. Like my entire relationship with my family has been some kind of mathematical equation where Jake gets endless help to make up for a sacrifice I don't even remember making necessary. I asked them if this is why they cut me off when I wouldn't pay for Jake's third DUI lawyer 3 years ago, and my mom actually nodded. She said I owed it to him after what he did for me. I don't know how to feel about any of this. Like, on one hand, Jake did sacrifice for me. That criminal record really did screw up his life in a lot of ways. But, on the other hand, I've been getting punished for years for not being grateful enough for something I didn't know happened. And honestly, I think this whole system fucked up both of us. Jake learned that he deserves endless support and bailouts because of that one sacrifice, but that didn't actually help him become a functional adult. And I learned that my problems don't matter, and I don't deserve help, which also didn't help me. I keep thinking about how different things might have been if they'd just told me. Like, if I'd known Jake took the fall for me, maybe I would have understood why helping him mattered so much to them. Maybe I wouldn't have felt so alone and unsupported all these years. But they made this decision for me about what I could and couldn't handle, and then built this whole family dynamic around a secret I wasn't allowed to know. As for the medical bills, I still can't afford to help in any meaningful way, but the family has managed to get some donations from relatives, and they worked out a payment plan with the hospital. My dad's recovery is going well, which is obviously the most important thing. But I have no idea how to move forward with my family after learning all this. Do I owe Jake for something I can't remember? Was my anger about the unequal treatment justified? Or was I just being a selfish asshole who didn't understand the full picture? I'm so confused and tired, I can't even think anymore. Part of me feels guilty for not remembering what Jake did for me, but part of me is angry that they built this whole guilt system around something they never told me about. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this information. Everything I thought I knew about my family dynamics was apparently based on this huge secret that nobody told me about.